Hello and welcome to the Corner 3 Show. My name's Zach.
My name's Ross.
And thanks for coming back. The Corner 3 Show, obviously we're going to be doing a weekly recap of the last week for the Pacers. Big road trip. We had a tough week. First off, we started against the Hornets. We were able to pull out a win, get above 500. It was the first game without Monte Ellis. Coincidence? Probably not.
Coincidence that we won?
Pacers showed that they could finally beat the team that's been a thorn in their side, it seems like, in the last couple of years. They were able to pull out the win. Good game from Paul George. Nice game from him as well. Miles Turner. Good to see those guys stepping up the game to help carry the team.
Yeah. Well, at first we should mention we're missing one member of our Corner 3 Show, yes. Our fearless leader. Sorry about that, Alex. He's actually traveling. It's cold here in Indiana, so he decided to get to where it's warm.
That's right.
Anyway, but yeah, so the Hornets game, I looked up some stats on that. Free throw discrepancy was nice for the Pacers. Well, actually, reverse. Charlotte had 32 free throws versus Indiana's 10 only, but the Pacers held them to only 33% from the field, which is nice. Kemba and Batum held in check, made them take a ton of shots to get their points. I mean, they still scored nice, but they took a lot of shots to get there. Snapped a 4-game losing streak against the Charlotte Hornets. You mentioned they always seem to have our number, so it's nice to finally get them back.
Yeah, definitely. And Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, not a good game for him. Obviously, he'll play some defense for you, but he shot 11% from the field. Yes. He did not help them out at all. I'm just glad to see the W, finally, for the Pacers over the Hornets.
Yeah, Teague had a double-double. Nice, getting that consistently. We only had one negative plus-minus guy. That was Lavoy Allen.
Well, what do you expect?
Exactly.
That's like a typical game from Lavoy Allen.
That's how I feel, too, yeah.
Then, obviously, went down to Miami. Played that team down there that I can't stand with their ugly jerseys as well. Lost 95-89 to the Miami Heat. I think I brought it up in the podcast last week. I figured Miles Turner was going to have trouble with Whiteside, big man down low, and well, everything came to fruition. He tore him apart.
He manhandled Miles Turner. I think that game was an eye opener for Miles Turner to see. You have a jump shot, you have skill in the NBA, but there's some strength and some growing you have to do. Miles is only, 20? Yeah. And it showed that he has some upper body strength to definitely get a handle on. I mean, Whiteside killed him on the glass, killed him offensively. Yeah.
We got killed on the boards. I think Whiteside had 22 rebounds. Paul didn't shoot good. Miles did all right for what he could do. He stretched the floor a little bit. Didn't hit any threes, which lately he seems like he's been throwing them up more. And then probably the biggest thing from that loss was Ronnie Stuckey getting injured. There was definitely a big difference in the play. There was no attacking. And once he left, the fourth quarter was terrible for them.
The fourth quarter, Pacers shot 5 of 18 overall. 6 turnovers when they had 9 in the entire game, but 6 alone in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
they continue this habit of having trouble closing out games they should win.
They should win, and that was a game that I was sitting there watching, and I'm like, "Oh, we got this. Fourth quarter comes around, and we could not score. I don't think we scored. Don't quote me on this for the stats, but it felt like we didn't score for the first 6 minutes of that quarter.
Yeah, the 6 turnovers, it felt like they happened the first 6 possessions. I mean, that's what it felt like listening on the radio. Mark Boyle was shaking his head going, what's happening? It was close the whole game. Shouldn't be. The Heat are terrible, but they still have trouble closing out in the fourth quarter.
I don't know if it's just the rotation. I saw Brooks was in there a lot at the end. I was wondering why Brooks was in there over Glenn Robinson or someone who would be out there playing defense. It was a weird lineup in that fourth quarter. It obviously did not work.
I think the major stat was the Heat. You mentioned were getting killed by Whiteside. The Heat as a team, 58 rebounds to the Pacers, 38 rebounds. Definitely got out-rebounded there by 20. Pacers continue this trend this season. I read somewhere that they're the only team not to win more or lose more than 2 in a row. So every time we win 2, we can almost guarantee we're going to lose the next one, or vice versa, which is disappointing to see, but that may be the reason for that one. And then another weird stat, Indiana, we have never won in Miami when Paul George actually plays. Last time we won in Miami, Paul George was out. with an injury, and the time before that he didn't play as a rookie. So we've never won in Indiana when Paul George played, and then obviously he played this game and we lost. So that was kind of disappointing to see them fall apart in the fourth quarter against a team that they should have won or should have beaten.
Yeah. Another team I thought they should have beaten. They're a good team. Obviously, they're not a good team, but they're playing bad this year. But they got a lot of talent. Was the Pelicans?
Mm-hmm.
Another big man who, obviously, Miles Turner struggles against these guys that have speed, have strength, and they just tear them apart. And that's Anthony Davis, 35 points, 16 rebounds. I'm sorry. It's hard. Especially hard when Buddy Hield starts hitting. That's when you know you're probably.
We were talking about him before will he get going? Is he broken? He hit 5 threes. Was it 5?
Yeah, 5 for 8. He shot 62%.
Scored over 20 for the first time in a while. He started getting going. Not so good. I mean, Miles Turner had a rough stretch there last week. I mean, he got to see first Whiteside, then Anthony Davis. The next game we'll talk about in a minute, Andre Drummond. He got shown, yes, you're a talented big man, but you're only a second-year player and you have a lot to learn.
And he played good. I mean, he had 26 points. He shot 78% from the field.
Yeah.
The thing about Miles Turner is he's going to get you the points. He's going to stretch the floor. He's not going to get you rebounds, though. He's first of all, he's outside. Not yet. He's outside most of the time shooting a jump shot, or he's stretching the floor now with 3, so obviously he's not going to get a rebound. And his guy is obviously stronger most of the time than him because he's still got to develop. That's something you got to sacrifice. So I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter and some message boards this week saying, should we trade for a rebounder? Who do we give up? Who can we get?
Move Miles to the 4 and have somebody get the rebounds for him? Or
one that I saw was move Thad to the bench and trade for the guy on the Nuggets. His name's not Crowder. I get him confused.
Jokic or Nurkic, one of those two
No,
boys?
he's got dreads. He gets rebounds like crazy.
Yeah.
Played for...
I can't remember, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You'll know who we're talking about. Kenneth Faried, yes.
There you go.
Someone was saying trade for Faried and put Thad to the bench so you can get rebounds. That's Twitter.
Faried would be wonderful to have. He's got an endless motor. He doesn't have an offensive game to speak of, but he's going to crash the boards for you.
Well, that's one thing you want to need him because you have Turner, you have T, you have George, and whoever you want to plug in at the shooting guard position. You just need someone to get you a board. That's obviously not going to happen. But that's those guys daydreaming on Twitter trying to get that stuff to happen.
Yeah, he's been in the trade rumors for a long time. That Pelicans game, no Pacer had a positive plus minus. That was Tyreek Evans' first game back, so the Pelicans are starting to get healthy, and it showed when their guys are healthy, they can be tough. And this is a team the Pacers should beat if we're going to compete at all this year. They didn't seem to show up again in the fourth quarter, more fourth quarter problems, but. We're criticizing Miles Turner on how he played against Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis is really, really good.
Yeah, he tears anybody up. But Miles Turner did not play bad. He had 26 points. It's just on the defensive end, he's going to struggle with those guys. That's him getting blown past, or people not calling out screens, him having to switch, and other guys getting stuck. It's not him being scored on the entire time. It's a team effort.
Yeah, Pelicans made 10 threes. Indiana only made 2. And shot 14.3% from the 3. That's not going to get done in an NBA game. No. Only hitting 2 threes. I mean, we play pickup and we hit more threes than they do. That's not so good. Yeah. That's probably the AD going off, being himself, and the lack of three-point shooting have to be the 2 main reasons I think that game did not go our way.
So after that game, we obviously went up to the Dirty D up in Detroit.
Probably the last time in the Palace, or maybe second to last.
There might be one more game in Detroit. Then they'll be going to the Little Caesars Arena. And
is that what it's called?
Yeah. That's actually going to be in Detroit. Right now, they're outside, like half hour outside of Detroit. So it'd be nice to actually go down there and see a game in Detroit.
Because there's no other reason to go downtown Detroit right now besides...
Unless you're going to a hockey game.
There you go, besides another sporting game.
But big game for the Pacers. That was a complete game, I felt, for them. Nice to see them rebound. They weren't really challenged in the fourth quarter. They kind of had control most of the game. Obviously, Paul George... seems like he's been consistent since he's come back from injury to try to take over games and lead the team. Good shooting percentage. Guy I thought did good, as hopefully everybody was seeing, Glenn Robinson.
Double-double.
Double-double, 12 and 12.
His second double-double this year.
That's right.
Nice to see.
Yeah, so it's good to see him taking advantage of that starting role. and getting the minutes and the playing time he needs. I think he's getting more comfortable with it, knowing he doesn't have to be the guy out there to go get points. On the bench, when you come off the bench, you have limited minutes. You're trying to do what you can at that time. And this is probably a better opportunity for him as long as Monte's injured.
Yeah, Alex talked about it, sorry, and Mark Monteith on Twitter brought it up too. As he's getting more comfortable, he's being more the 3-and-D guy. He doesn't have to have the ball in his hands. Double-double. I think he had a career high in 12 rebounds. I love seeing that from a shooting guard. Pacers were the first team this year to score more than 100 against Detroit. And I heard after this game, the Pistons had a players-only meeting after this to really talk about what they're doing. And someone says, if the Pacers had lost, it could have been reversed. We could have had a players-only meeting. Both these teams were 500, we're right there.
Mm-hmm.
But Detroit felt they should have beat the Pacers, and we took it to them. One thing I really like, rebounds. We talked about those last two games getting killed in the rebound department. Against Miami, we got beat by 20 boards. Against New Orleans, 10. We won the rebounding battle, 51-40.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a stat that when we out-rebound opponents, we're 6-2. I don't know if that's something to look into, but obviously getting an offensive rebound, getting defensive rebounds gives you more possessions.
Mm-hmm.
I think wanting to out-rebound the opponent is a priority.
No other Pistons players in double figures for rebounds besides Andre Drummond with 15. Also nice to see the Pacers get a road win.
There you go.
They have been terrible on the road this year. Nice to see them go out there, get the W.
We held them to 38% shooting. Good defensive. It was just an all-around good game. I mean, second, third quarters, it was still close, but fourth quarter, it seemed like the Pacers just had it, which is nice to see after those first three games we talked about, falling apart in the fourth. It's a learning curve for this team.
Yeah, I don't know if that fourth quarter struggles they've had is coming from injuries, Stuckey being out, Ellis being out, or if it's coaching. If he's just not, McMillan's not setting up the right system for guys. Obviously, that Heat game, that fourth quarter was ugly as it can be. I don't know what the issue is. A lot of guys are saying now, well, if the issue was Ellis before, what's your excuse now?
Yeah.
So, we'll see. It might be coaching. It's the NBA. Anybody can beat you any night, just like the NFL. But obviously, this team is they are a inconsistent, consistent team.
So is half the East. All those guys right there in the 2 or 3 through 9 spot. I mean, this win brought us back to 500, and we're still sitting in 7th place with a chance at 3rd if we really want it. But I think one thing we have to look at, this ends the road trip, which means Monte's injury is over. Is he going to come back to the starting lineup? Is he going to come back off the bench, or is he done as a Pacer? I don't know. We'll see. Nothing's been really announced yet. I mean, the next game's not till... I can't remember when the Wizards game is. Sometime this week. Monday. Tomorrow night when we're recording. So we'll get to see, and we'll let you know if we hear anything on that.
Yeah. Going ahead, we're going to switch things up a little bit this week. There wasn't a lot of changes with the roster, obviously, besides the Stuckey injury. No real big stories besides the fourth quarter struggles, which we've talked about in our analysis of the last week's game. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead to the breakdown of our weekly opponents. Obviously, as Ross brought out, tomorrow night we're going to be playing the Wizards. Wizards seem 11-14. Obviously, that seems like one of those teams the Pacers should beat. This seems like one of those games, but as we know, the Wizards have two really, really good guards in John Wall and Bradley Beal. This could be something where, with the lack of, well, I won't say lack. We have guys that can play guards, play the guard position. But with Ellis, is he coming back for sure? Ellis coming back from injury, Stuckey out.
We don't know.
Basically, all you have is Glenn. He's a guard / forward. You have Teague and you have Brooks. Am I right?
As your 1 and 2, yeah, because CJ's more 3-4, kind of thin up there right now.
Yeah. Obviously, we're going to have some issues with that. I don't see a big issue for the Pacers in the post. Gortat's getting up there in age. Mahimi isn't really an offensive threat.
I think he's still hurt even.
He's still hurt. I think he's played in one game this year, so I don't know if he's going to be
The Wizards have won 3 straight, but at the beginning of the year they're at the bottom and they were team in turmoil and had nowhere to go. They're starting to win. They're making a run at the 9th spot there in the East, the 8-9 spot there. Yeah. This is a game just like the ones we had this last week. The Pacers should win, but will they? It's really if they can control John Wall and Bradley Beal, if they can control, I always confuse this. Is that the backcourt? Yeah, I think it's the backcourt, right?
Yeah.
If they can control the backcourt, Pacers should take care of this game. They're back home after that road trip. We shall see.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see who guards Otto Porter as well. He's been playing well of late.
Yeah. Year 3, year 4 for him? I can't remember.
I think 4.
Yeah.
Year 4. It's hard to tell with these guys when they come in early and everything. He's actually, I saw something saying he might get like a max contract on his next one. And I'm like, they're just throwing those things out there because he ain't that good. Like, he's averaging 13.6 points a game this year, but for a max contract, I mean, unless they're expecting the money to explode again, I don't know why you'd throw it out there.
What's a max contract for a Otto Porter? But everybody's got all that money with the new CBA and everything like that, so they got to spend it. So I can see him getting something like that.
So for this game, go ahead and I'm going to take the Pacers. I hate doing these pick'ems now because like last week I was looking over everything we did and I picked the Pacers to beat the Heat, but as soon as I said that, I was like, I don't know, I'll probably regret that. So, with this Pacers team being consistently inconsistent, you never know what you're going to pick. But I got a home game. Wizards have won 3 in a row, but I don't see a lot of depth on their team for guys that can really hurt us besides their 2 guards. So I'll take the Pacers.
Yeah, I think coming back home, they had an up and down road trip, but they beat a team that maybe shouldn't have. I mean, they lost to teams they shouldn't have as well. I think the Pacers are going to get it together back home, hopefully start a new week, new leaf, think about things in a fresh light. I'm going to take the Pacers as a win myself.
Have you been looking at the standings at all, or are you haven't calculated those yet on who's the pick'ems?
I'll have to redo that because evidently I was counting it wrong.
That's all right.
I'll check last week's. I had a little tight weekend this last week, but I'll get you guys next show. I'll update everybody on the standings since it's a year thing, not a weekly thing. I apologize.
Whole season. Then, of course, after the Washington Wizards, the Pacers will go to the New York Knicks.
Super team.
20th. The super team.
Pooper team.
Super pooper team. You know what? They're a good team. I hate that Noah signing.
I was going to ask, that's my number one thing I want to talk about. Should he even be playing anymore? He looks so washed up, I love the guy, but it's painful.
Yeah. It's one of those things I think, I don't know if, it's obviously not a package deal. Derrick Rose could care less as long as he's getting paid if Noah plays with them or not. I think Phil Jackson, he has not done a great job putting a team together while he's been there with the Knicks. I don't think he really has what it takes to be a good GM. Someone was talking to me about this a couple days ago, and this is not my words, so don't get mad at me for saying this. Someone was telling me a couple days ago, have Phil Jackson and Larry Bird lost their edge? Are they to the age now where they don't understand what the NBA type of player is anymore?
NBA's changed since they played or coached.
Because if you look at it, Phil Jackson's teams that he's put together have not been good.
Run the triangle, which
he
they
keeps
don't run the triangle.
No one runs it. And then you have the team like the Pacers who, it's kind of always like Larry Bird sees what's hot at the time and he tries to throw something together. Which as Pacers fans in the offseason, we love it. We're like, oh, look at what we're doing. This is exciting. We always have a fun offseason.
Matching the trend of the NBA is where everything's going.
But then when you actually see the team he's put on the floor, it's like, he's not matching up well with this team. So,
well, with Noah too, he's playing the 5. And I feel like their future is Porzingis at the 5. Use that guy's crazy ability to guard the rim and stretch out for a 3, which there's hardly anybody in the NBA who can do that as well as he can. That'd be a nightmare matchup for most teams. I mean, if we still have Roy Hibbert, we would be murdered by the Knicks with a player like that. So Noah in there is taking away from Porzingis' growth and Melo at the 4. And
I see why they do it, but I also think they're trying to protect him because he is so young.
Yeah.
You try to throw him in there at the center and try to guard like a Whiteside or
that's true.
Or DeMarcus Cousins.
Eat him alive in the post now.
He got thrown down by some bench player by the Suns last week. I mean,
I think it was Chris. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a skinny guy. I mean, I can understand your point. Like Roy Hibbert, well, oh my gosh, if he was on the Pacers still and that happened to us, I'd be so mad because he'd be getting lit up. But also at the same time, you have to think of your matchups. He would also get pounded in the paint a lot of the time. you look at their team: Porzingis, Anthony, Rose, Courtney Lee. Those 4 guys right there. You're like, dang,
they should be good.
yeah, they should be good.
But then you go to, what's the guy's name? The Russian dude, Mamzakas Kamzu.
Kuzimakis and
Sure.
Fernando Gomez. I mean,
And
their bench.
Vujicic, no, is Vujicic out?
I think he's injured. He's on the team, but
It's
he's
a weird mix out there.
Their bench is terrible.
Yes.
They have
Brian
a horrible
Jennings,
bench.
nothing. He's brought nothing this year.
Yeah.
Poor Knicks.
Poor Knicks.
Stupid triangle.
You know what's
Never
funny
run
is,
a
we
triangle.
say that, and a Knicks fan will be like, "Oh, we're ahead of you guys in the standings."
They're 14 and 13. They're 1 game up on us. So
But I mean, they're. I think they got hot the first couple games, and they've slowly showing their true colors. With that bench, and then Noah playing as bad as he has. So,
I have a stupid question for it. Maybe not a stupid question, but
there's no
what
stupid
nickname should we call Porzingis? I've heard the Unicorn, and that's the one I kind of like the most because he's so unique.
Oh, okay.
Right? He can guard the rim and pull out for 3. I've heard Unicorn. I've heard the Zinger. I've heard, I can't remember the other ones. Those are the top 2 that I've heard personally. I mean, it's something we don't have to care about. It's the Knicks, but
I like the Zinger better than the Unicorn. The Unicorn seems kind of girly.
It does seem kind of girly. Yeah.
He's so those unique. Ponies. So I don't know if I want that for them.
What do you think against the Knicks? This is in New York, at the Garden or at the at MSG. At the Mecca. That's the word I was looking for. There you go.
I'm going to take the Pacers. I feel like the Pacers should be able to win this game. It always seems like there's 2 places Paul George seems to always play good. L.A. and New York. I don't know if that's because that's where all the celebrities are going to be at the games. They're going to be highlight games. He must steal the attention. It seems like he steps up his games for those big cities. So
he's kind of a primetime player. That's a good point, and it almost makes you change your mind. But I feel like every week there's a game that we should win that we lose, and that's the one I'm going to pick. I think the Knicks are going to take us on that one. We'll be mad. We'll complain about, team this, and then we'll move on. They'll probably win this next game, but I'm going to take the Knicks.
Okay. So you get the Knicks, okay.
Sorry.
2 days later, just moving a little bit south, we're going to the Boston. No, Boston's coming here. Right?
Coming here. Yep.
Coming here. Home game. Boston, they're slowly kind of falling down in the standings. They were 3rd at one point a couple weeks ago, but they've teetered a little bit. They're still 3rd, but their lead is they're tied with the Hornets right now, and a half game ahead of the Knicks and Bucks. So that lead that they had is no longer there. Obviously, you got Brad Stevens. You got those guards that killed us the last time we played them at home. They are an interesting team to me. They seem like they could be really good, especially with the coach that they have, the players that they have. And this is why you always see them in trade rumors. I feel like they're just missing one piece that would kind of put them over the edge. And I think that's why we always see them in trade rumors and stuff.
Yeah, well, Boston fans could tell us, but I can't remember how many draft picks they have this upcoming draft, 2 or 3. I know they have the Nets coming. They have their own. I think they have the Nets the next draft as well. They have an abundance of picks, but like you're saying, they are literally between them and the Magic, which is the 9, 10, 11, 12 seed. There's like 2 games difference.
Mm-hmm.
The East, that 3 seed through the 12 seed is just jammed. Everybody's in there. And you would think Celtics last year, they were what, 2 or 3? They were really good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all they did really was add Al Horford, which you think is a great positive change for them, and yet they're not where they feel they should be.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's taking time to get used to Steven's system, or I don't know what the deal is. I mean, I know they started off with injuries, so it took a while, but I think they should be better than their record shows.
They should be. They're a well-coached team. I know Jay Crowder missed some games. Al Horford's missed some games. So they've had to play guys that wouldn't really get the minutes that they usually would. I think because of those injuries. I think Horford's only played 16 games. I think he's missed 10 games so far this early in the season. So that's your big free agent. That's probably your. I'd say he's your second best player. I think Isaiah Thomas is probably the main star still, even though I love Horford.
I agree with that.
You lose that guy, obviously you're not going to win a bunch of games. That'd be like losing Miles Turner and not having him out there. So that's part of the reason why I think they've struggled of late. But they've also, obviously, they're still in 3rd place. It's like, I love it how we started doing this podcast and you start saying things, and then as soon as you say it, you're like, man, I kind of just said something, and I kind of want to take it back now because we're like in 7th place, But
Yeah, we get so down on the team or our teams we're playing, and really, we're in the hunt. I mean, no one's going to beat Cleveland or the Warriors this year. I mean, be honest.
We're
really looking at ourselves.
We are literally one game back from the 3rd seed.
Yeah, but besides those two teams, we got a shot at really doing something on the other side until we run up to Cleveland. But
I think it's important for the Pacers to. I thought Jeff Teague did a decent job holding Isaiah Thomas the last game.
Yeah, we were at that last game. You remember how that went? It was James Young was the one who surprised us.
Yeah,
he came in and scored 20-something, right?
Well, he kept getting open for open threes.
Right.
Monte Ellis would get picked.
Mm-hmm.
Monte Ellis would over pursue. He'd either he'd try for a steal, miss it. Young would get a 3, or Monte Ellis would get stuck behind the screen, and like Thad Young or somebody wouldn't step out. Young hits a 3 again. So it's what kills us. That was early in the year. I think that was our 2nd or 3rd game, maybe.
It was early, yeah.
It was early. So we at the time we blamed it for chemistry issues. Now we just see that's the Pacers.
So I feel the key this upcoming week, and we're not putting it all on his shoulders. It's not all one person's fault, but what Monte are we getting back from injury? Is it a starting Monte who's aggressive again and actually plays defense? Is it a bench Monte, or did they even cut with him already? The non-motivated Monte we saw before the injury. I think that shooting guard spot is going to be the key.
Okay. Well, Pacers fans, I am going to call the Pacers' first 3-game win streak.
Ooh.
I'm picking them over the Celtics at home. I think, like we said last week, we thought last week could be the week for the Pacers to get ahead in the standings, or the week that they should win. Their next couple weeks of games, they should be able to bump themselves up in the standings. So I'm calling. You said they're the only team that hasn't won.
Hasn't won or lost more than 2. So we either win 2 then lose it, or lose 2 and then win it.
Yeah, I say that ends this week. I say we beat the
change that streak.
Celtics. Go
I like it. I'm going to take the Celtics too. We're home again after that
Wait,
next
you're
game.
taking the Pacers?
Backwards. Yeah, I'm taking
I think
the
I
Pacers
said I'll take the
as well.
Celtics. I'm taking the Pacers.
We're both taking the Pacers. I apologize. I feel like we're going to get that together.
We're sitting this, and like Alex is sitting on the couch listening to this right now.
Shaking his head going, oh my.
Oh, idiots.
This is what happens when I leave. Now, Alex is probably on the beach right now in Florida drinking a Mai Tai because he just...
Well, by the time he
Can do
listens
that.
to this, I'm probably going to be there with him, so... You forgot I'm going to.
Yes, next week our show will be interesting because it may be a remote where I'm calling in because I got to stay behind in Indiana where it's 10 degrees out and wind chill of freaking cold. Then they'll be on the beach. We'll still give you a show, everybody, because we know how much you care.
And we'll get picks from Alex so he can stay up in the standings.
I'll update everybody next week. But yeah, we're taking the Pacers. We think we can beat the Celtics this second time through at home.
All right, so Ross is going to move on for us. He's going to start talking about, obviously this week, the NBA agreed upon, it's not official, but they agreed upon a new CBA. Ross, what information you got on that?
Thank goodness. Last time the CBA was ratified was 2011, and it was kind of a, let's just get it agreed upon so we can keep playing basketball. The last time we had a work stoppage because of it was 2000, I want to say 4, 5, 6 in there, when the Pacers were the best team in the league and looking like they had a chance at the title, and the next year's the brawl and everything fell apart. So work stoppage is bad for all of us fans. But they have agreed to the new CBA thanks to this man who, personally, I feel, no offense, David Stern, but I do like you as a commissioner, Adam Silver. You're doing a fantastic job. So it's tentative. It's not officially going to be ratified until January 13th, but things have already been leaking out about some points that everyone needs to, points that we care about as fans. The big one is designated player rule. So really what it boils down to is it's easier for teams to keep players that they draft. So if a player is in the league more than, I think it was 6 years, and achieves certain milestones like All-NBA team, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, those kind of things, he qualifies for this. And doing so, the team that has his rookie contract, if he's still on his rookie contract, either by trade or by draft, he's eligible for an up to 6-year contract with his home team. Whereas if he left, he's only eligible for a 4-year contract with another team and at a huge pay decrease. Somebody on, I think it was Steve Kyler. Yeah, Steve Kyler with Basketball Insiders put up a tweet. Take Paul George, for instance. Pacers drafted Paul George. If he signs with the Pacers, which we assume is going to happen in the next year or so, he could sign for a 6-year contract worth $222.99 million over 6 years. Yes, that goes $19 million the first year up to nearly $42, I think it was, the last year. A crazy amount of money. If he leaves, he's only going to get a 4-year contract worth $130 million.
Chump change.
So, I mean, there's 2 more years he could then get on, but he's still giving up upwards of $60 million in total money to go to LA, to go to somewhere else. So in a way, I feel like this new deal is like a anti-Durant feature to help teams keep it. But like even if this was in effect before Durant left, the Thunder would have to have picked, Westbrook or Durant. You can only designate one player like this. So they could have picked the wrong one or, still had to pick one. But it also helps every team have some kind of a star. Helps teams keep, if you draft well, keep your star. It's nice for us small market teams.
Yeah. A couple of things I liked about it was preseason starting a week sooner.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
I think what they're slowly trying to do is get rid of these back-to-backs because they realize fans do not like, even though we understand the reasoning behind them, fans don't like LeBron and company not playing when they're out of town. For instance, the Memphis Grizzlies. When the Cavs skipped the Memphis Grizzlies last week, that's the only time the Cavs were going to Memphis.
Yeah.
So it was brought out that, it's not fair to those fans who look up to those players who love them, can never see them play. They can't do it. Someone brought out, if you know you're going to need to sit, why don't you sit out? Because they played Memphis back-to-back.
Yeah, why don't you sit out in Cleveland?
Why don't you sit down back at the home games? Because those people will have a chance to see you all the time.
Little suburban Memphis person drives an hour in to see LeBron.
Exactly.
Spends $400 to get floor seats. Mm-hmm. LeBron's not playing.
You just wasted all that money.
And it's not Cleveland's fault. It's not the Grizzlies' fault. I think it's the scheduling thing. But even with this new change that you mentioned, so the season starts a week sooner, we lose a week of preseason, it's going to lighten the back-to-backs. It's not going to eliminate the back-to-backs. And there's still a chance of guys are going to rest. But I was thinking, too, really that only applies to like the top-seeded teams, right? Like Golden State and Cleveland on resting, because we're not going to rest Paul George. We need every win we can get. But those top seeds...
But that's the big issue, though. People want to see those guys that are going to be like legends eventually. Say you had the chance. Another thing I liked about this, and I just thought about this while we were going over it, 2 D-League contracts that are like NBA salaries. There are some guys over in Europe that are really, really good players, and they won't come over here because they know they'll probably get sent to the D-League or they're not going to get a contract they want.
Do you want to know what? Guess what the top contract in the D-League was this past season? Guess how much?
$75,000.
You're way off. $26,000.
For real? Oh my goodness.
Garbage, right? And they can go to Europe and probably make $75,000 or more, most likely more. So this new allotment, the salaries will bump up between $50,000 to $75,000 for D-League. So still not awesome, but it's enough to make you go, do I want to go to Europe?
Yeah,
and get out of everyone's vision, stay where they can see me.
Exactly. Teams will see you. The other, you'll still be getting called up for a chance to play in the NBA. In Europe, you're stuck on those contracts with those teams. There's buyouts. I like that feature.
Yeah, so the team adds 2 new roster spots, and those are designated D-League spots. So they're really trying to make the D-League the minor league, just like baseball has. And if teams can really work that system the best way, they're giving themselves cheap, quality bench players. I mean, these aren't going to be your stars, most likely. These are some role players that come in and give you 15, 20 minutes off the bench. Like, just think Glenn Robinson developed down there. Now we like where he's at, but if we'd had him early, you could have sent him down there, get the experience to start. Play in the Pacers system.
Yeah,
I think it's nice. It's going to help the D-League a lot, which I really like the D-League idea for the NBA. I think it's great.
There's one thing I brought up with someone a couple of days ago when this CBA deal got announced, and it was talking about how Paul George can get almost like $40 million a year.
Yeah.
When you have to do that, and it comes at the time to decide on Paul George, and you're going to hand him that over $200 million contract, is Paul George worth over $220 million? Because right now, you could say he's the max player on the team, best player on the team, you've got a decent build around you, and you're at $500. Is he going to be worth basically 3 times the salary he's making now?
But you got to think, we're going to see these numbers and go, holy crap, that's a ton of money. But everything's going up, with the TV deals and everything, so it seems crazy, but it's still the same percentage as he would have made before. It's just the numbers are huger or larger. So Paul would make, on that deal, 35% of the team's cap, which is more than a quarter of your whole team's allotted salary.
Which goes back to my point. If he's taking up 35% of your cap, what players could you get in there
Because then say you sign Miles Turner to 20% of your cap, 15% of your cap, you got half and two guys.
If Miles Turner keeps playing the way he is, he's already 15 points a game in his second year.
Yeah.
He's going to get a huge contract. He'll get a max contract if he keeps this up.
And the Pacers will only be able to designate one guy. We could lose. That may remove the big three kind of scenario. I just thought about that while we're talking, right? Because you can only save one guy who you drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So if the Cavs, if LeBron had never left, they would have kept LeBron probably, and then Kevin Love and
I think the
Kyrie.
NBA realizes that while TV and everybody does like these big teams, they realize it's helping the league, but at the same time it's hurting the league. Because everybody knows there's only 2 or 3 teams that have a chance to win the title.
It gives you a villain to root against, but then you're not going to watch a Golden State Knicks game because they're going to get blasted. What's the point of what? Pacers Knicks game or Pacers Golden State game?
I saw a lot of people bashing the Pacers on being publicized on ESPN last week on Twitter.
Why?
They're like, "Oh, Pacers! You're showing the Pacers on ESPN. Give us the Warriors and Jazz. Whatever game it was.
The up and coming teams." Yeah, that's the problem with these top tier teams like this. I mean, what do you think the chances are we're going to see Golden State Cleveland in the finals again? I think it's in the 90s. I feel like it's inevitable. I hate to have that much difference. There are only were there 2 things? One other thing. That's not even that important, really, is it? The one and done. No, that is important. So the one and done deal is staying in the new CBA. If you go to college, you can leave after 1 year. You can't go straight from high school unless you go to Europe and then come to the NBA. So you have to be a year removed from high school. But they are in discussion to do a 0 or 2. So you can jump straight from high school. If you don't get drafted, you can still go to college. Whereas right now, if you don't get drafted, you just screwed yourself. Well, you can't anyway, but before, you just screwed yourself and you can't go to college because you declared yourself as a professional. You can't play in NCAA. Whatever. So now they're looking into more. If you do go to college, you got a minimum 2 years. Minimum 2 years, or you can jump straight from high school. I don't know. I feel like more guys are going to try to jump if that ever gets ratified. But
I say, if they do it, I say jump if you want. But as a person who watches college basketball, that'd be awesome.
It would be great to see guys stay longer, learn more. I heard an argument. If they don't allow guys to jump right from high school, you're depriving someone of years of earning potential, right? I mean, it's like saying, no, you can't go work, even though you have a job lined up. You have to go and not make anything for 2 years when they could make millions of dollars. But those 2 years in college, you're 2 years older, you're more wiser. Maybe they make smarter decisions with all that money because a lot of these guys are coming from nothing, and now you get $20 million contracts dropped in your lap. Yeah. I can see both sides.
I forget the number, but there was a number, and it's like a crazy number of guys who come from high school that just drop, they flop. And then they're out of the money because they spend it while they're in the NBA.
Kwame Brown,
yeah,
made $60+ million. Failed.
So I feel like there's if you're gonna go. If you're not, get your degree. I mean, you might find out after 2 years you're like, oh shoot, maybe I'm not good enough to play in the NBA. Get your degree, get your 4-year degree, or make good money, and then you can go play in Europe for a little bit.
Yeah, the average NBA career is what, like 4 to 6 years, if I remember correctly. Get your degree while you're there. I mean, because once you do leave, you're not going to be on scholarship when you go back.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting because as a fan, like you said, as a fan of college basketball, I'd like to see it, but then I understand the other side. So we'll see if they ever change anything about that. But
yeah. So, obviously, Pacers. Hey, went back down. Pacers are in 7th spot. As we talked about earlier, though, they're really only 1 game out of the 3rd spot with Boston. Everything is bunched up, but they lose a game, they could drop all the way down to 12th.
Yeah, we're a game and a half out of 3rd. That is crazy.
Yeah.
3 through about 12 is all right there.
Yeah, the East is a mess. It's pretty ugly. When you look at these teams before the season started, you're like, okay, Washington's been good, Atlanta's been good, Detroit's up and coming, Miami was decent last year, but they lost Wade, but they got a young squad, they got Dragic and Whiteside still, and you're looking at it and you're saying, dang, these teams are bad. For example, the Bulls, hot at the beginning of the year. They're now in the 8th spot.
They've lost 3 straight. They've fallen out. I think they may fall out completely by the end.
3, yeah. They've lost 7 out of their last 10 games.
I don't know how New York is there. I feel like that's got to change. It's going to change.
Well, once we beat them,
there you go.
It'll swap, so we don't have to worry about it. Like I said, I picked the Pacers to win all 3 games this week. 2 out of the 3 teams are ahead of them. So easily, the Pacers, by the end of this week, could realistically be in the top 4.
Yeah, if we beat Charlotte and Boston, well, Not shot. New York and Boston. Sorry, we could be in third at the end of this upcoming week.
And then Pacers fans will be. You'll hear all the fanboys out there like, "Oh,
I told you.
I've been riding this train all along."
It's all they needed. Yeah. So
as
close.
we go to the Western Conference, obviously, it's as usual in recent history. It's stacked as usual. Golden State head and shoulders above everybody else. San Antonio's doing good. Team I'm surprised to see up there in the third spot is Houston.
They've won 10 straight. You see that?
10 straight. James Harden having an awesome year. No, he's not averaging a triple-double, is he? I don't think
he's not averaging, but he's getting it consistently.
He's close. And then you got Oklahoma City in the 7th spot. Westbrook's keeping him in it.
I'm shocked by Memphis. No Conley, no Chandler Parsons. They just have Marc Gasol and a bunch of names. Troy Williams, IU fame, a bunch of names you've never heard besides that. And they're winning. They're in 5th. They shouldn't be winning. Their point differential? 0.
You see the big difference, though, in the Western Conference. Everybody's last 10, 8-2, 8-2, 10-0, 7-3, 8-2.
Yeah, 1 through 7 are all like...
They must be playing Eastern Conference teams.
I think so. I mean, the only team, the 8th seed, looks like an Eastern Conference team. Everybody else is in their own category, it almost feels like.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit bad for LA. They were the story at the beginning of the season. Oh, Luke Walton, Coach of the Year. He's taking this team of young guys.
Squad.
It's young. We knew it was going to happen, but they fell off fast and hard, and I don't think they got a shot making the playoffs if they keep that up.
Exactly. So, moving on, we're going to go to our TNT predictions. Obviously, hey, Pacers got a TNT
nationally
game.
Televised.
Who would have thought that? Obviously, the Boston Celtics. This is one of our Pacers games, so obviously me and Ross both picked the Pacers already. Big opportunity for the Pacers to jump up the standings, as we talked about. The other TNT game, Spurs at the Clippers. Basically, you got one of the 2 top 4 teams in the West. They're only separated by a game and a half in the standings.
Mm-hmm.
Clippers are an interesting team. They're really good, but the Pacers have their number, which I cannot figure out for the life of me.
They're really good, then they're really bad. Yeah, we beat them twice handily, and they lost to, was it the Bulls? They lost to, somebody else this week. They shouldn't have lost to.
Yeah.
But then they're still one of the best defensive teams in the league and 4th in the West, 20-7.
They're kind of bipolar.
But they're a good bipolar because
they're good bipolar.
They're 4th in the West.
I would take their 20-7 bipolar over what we have.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, Spurs with Pop in there, Kawhi Leonard having another great year, always at the top of the league. My gut feeling on this one, I'm going to roll with the San Antonio Spurs over the Clippers.
Yeah, it's in LA, but I agree with you. I think the Spurs, I'd take a Pop coach team over a Doc coach team. No offense, Doc.
But it's nice to see the Pacers go out there.
This is our first nationally televised game?
Besides the ESPN game.
Yeah, that's true. The first TNT game, I guess.
First TNT game, which I don't remember. I'm sure we did, but I don't remember having any of those games last year.
Yeah, I'm surprised this is the one. I guess they were hoping before the season these are the 2 up-and-coming rising teams, and now I'm sure they would hope that somebody else would be on the other side of the Celtics. But hey, on TV, I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it. We're not going to complain about that. Moving on, some college basketball talk. Obviously, this is usually Alex's segment.
And he would love to talk about what happened, too.
We are going to butcher this segment so bad. He's going to be salivating.
Sorry.
He's going to be like, his face is going to be so red. He's going to be like,
You want to slide next?
They don't know anybody's names.
Well, I guess you got
look at them. They couldn't even do the picture right behind them. Crossroads Classic, Butler versus IU, Notre Dame versus Purdue. Big day at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Surprisingly, you watched it. I was pretty happy with the crowd that they had, despite the weather Indiana had this weekend.
I didn't get to watch any of it. Yeah, you're going to have to.
Well, Purdue was down to Notre Dame in the first half. They were able to come back and pull out the...
Yeah, I read Indiana Mr. Basketball from 2 years ago. Caleb Swanigan looked really good, looked dominant, as Purdue was hoping.
Yeah. I didn't realize when I was watching the game how many bigs Purdue had. Like
Haas, Swanigan, one of the
Haas is a big dude.
He's like 7'4". He's like giant.
He's a giant. Like
I read though that that close of the game, Purdue went small. Haas was on the bench. Swanigan was their big, and he's only 6'9". He's not that tall of a guy. The change in the NBA is bleeding over into college a little bit. I mean, even Big Ten teams, which always used to have a dominant big man, which Purdue still wants to do, but things are changing.
Yeah. So Purdue was able to pull out that win, coming back in the second half, 86-81. The big game that afternoon, though, was obviously what most of the crowd was there for. That's no diss to Purdue or Notre Dame. But you're in Indianapolis. You're only 45 minutes from Bloomington. Most of the people there were there to see IU versus Butler. Butler continues to surprise me. I get shocked by all these big wins. They got Arizona, and they would pull out the win 83-78 over IU. IU has had a little bit up and down. Obviously, they beat North Carolina. Home game were at Rocket
Lost
Stroud.
to IPFW.
But then Butler lost to Indiana State, which they're not that big. They're not that good this year. I mean, they're going to be. I think they picked 4th in their conference.
Yeah. It's funny you say that about Butler, though. Everything I was reading online was IU fans are going to flip out and go, Butler beat us, are you kidding me? But we shouldn't be surprised with Butler winning. They are good.
Yeah.
Since Brad Stevens, they've been good.
Yeah.
This year, you said they're beating teams. They are actually a threat.
Yeah, they're number 18 in the nation. But IU fans were number 9. They shouldn't be surprised.
All 4 schools were ranked for the first time since the 90s
Yeah.
going into this, which was nice.
You can't really diss them because Butler fans will be like, when was the last time you made back-to-back national
There you
championship
go.
games? Because
Been a shot away from the title.
yeah, so good to see Butler get the W.
It's always good when Indiana schools are good. It makes me happy.
4 teams in the top 25.
Awesome.
Which is good. Which I don't think we predicted that in our first episode.
I think we put Butler. No, we put Butler's too, but we didn't predict they'd all be ranked. Yeah.
I think we predicted IU, Butler, Purdue, and Notre Dame was the rankings at the end of the year we picked.
Yeah.
Not 100% sure on that, but just going off memory, I think that's what we had. All right. This week, the Corner 3. Obviously, was it 3 days ago, teams were able to start discussing or getting into trade talks with players that they had signed previously.
Mm-hmm.
Pacers fans were salivating at the bit to hear about any rumors from Monte Ellis.
I haven't heard anything. Do you have something for me, Zach, to show?
I don't have a ton of rumors out there for Pacers-wise. Obviously, the main rumor the Pacers have had all summer, and once this deadline passed, obviously is Rudy Gay. A lot of people are still wanting Rudy Gay. I think Ross may have lost his...
You may have not been hearing me the entire time.
Oh, wow. Well, we have the video going as well here, so...
I'll start again and see how that goes. I don't know what happened.
I don't know where we left off for Ross, but as I was saying, Rudy Gay has been a popular trade rumor for the Pacers. People are talking about a straight-up swap for Monte Ellis. We discussed earlier the other rumor that I had saw was for Kenneth Faried, moving Thad Young to the bench. There was another discussion of the Magic's young man, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Herzonia. He's been struggling down there, but seems like a move might benefit him. But besides that...
I would love Herzonia. I think we talked about it before. I didn't see one, if you're mentioning trades. Our friend of the show, Alex, was actually on his show last week, the ISPN, Indiana Sports Pacers podcast. I can't remember who led that podcast. I think it was Alex. Not our Alex, different Alex.
Different Alex.
He had an idea on a nice trade between the Pacers, 76ers, and the Kings. We give up Lavoy Allen and Monte Ellis. We gain Rudy Gay and Omri Caspi. What would you think if we got Rudy Gay? I mean, there's also with the 76ers, but that doesn't affect us. So.
My thing with this Rudy Gay rumor that's been going around all summer is I feel like Rudy Gay might fit if he's willing to change his style of play. I feel like if you get Rudy Gay, he's going to have to play. You're going to have to, him or Paul are going to have to play the two. And then when that happens, is he the type of guy who wants to sit back and not be the main guy? I know he's technically not the main guy in Sacramento, but he's used to being in his previous history the main guy. Can he just sacrifice himself and just become a 3-and-D player? I don't even know if he's that good at three-point shooter, but can he be Robin? Is basically what I'm saying.
Because he is, in my eyes, the very poor man's Paul George. Because he's long. If he gets motivated, he can play defense, and he can score when he also gets motivated. I mean, he can score more than he can play defense. I don't know if I'd like that. I mean, I would think he's improvement over Monte. That's credible length we could gain there at the 2 or the 3, or wherever we would play him. Mm-hmm. And getting rid of Lavoy and Monte has been a theme of ours in recent podcasts. But I don't know. That would be interesting. I don't know if Rudy Gay would be the one that I would like to see from the Kings.
I'd
Alex
see-
has brought out McLemore. That'd be nice
McLemore.
to see. Casper, I've always kind of liked him. I mean, he's more just a 3 guy. He's not going to defense or anything like that. But
The other one I saw was Norland's Noel.
yeah, he was included in that, but not to the Pacers. What would you think about getting a straight up defensive big to help out?
What are we giving up? That'd be my one question. I saw, as Alex from ESPN brought up, Lavoie Allen was one of those trades, but I'm like, who wants Lavoie Allen? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
love you,
think
Lavoie,
it-
but not in today's NBA.
I feel like I always bash Lavoie Allen. Super nice guy, but it just doesn't work for the Pacers.
Yeah, when we criticize players,
We're not
nothing personal.
Not personal. I would like Noel just for his defensive presence, having another big down there. It just depends on who we would have to get up to get him. If I was to choose who we need a guy. We either need one of two things. We need a rebounder, another big man. We need a backup power forward is my main concern. Because who's our backup power forward? Lavoie Allen.
I was trying to think. Dang it, you're right.
So I think that's our first concern. I think if you do a trade, you're trying to move Monte Ellis. You move Monte Ellis for a power forward.
Yeah, I like that. Backup power forward and a 2 guard to take the spot of Monte if we get rid of a Monte. So that Hezonja idea, I love. I mean, he was the pride of the summer league.
Wouldn't Glenn Robinson just take that spot and just keep it?
Yeah, so Hezonja would still be coming off the bench, and he's still a really young guy. I don't know if that would work. It's just I feel like he's getting left behind, wasted there in Orlando, not getting any playing time. I mean, I don't know if he'd get any here either, but I always liked him at the summer league games. He was definitely fun to watch. Super Mario, they called him. I mean, that'd be nice to see.
Who do you think is the most likely player, not just general NBA, to get traded in the next couple of months?
I don't think the Cousins thing is going to happen, especially with this new CBA going into effect.
And
Things are going to keep him.
I've heard the offers have been pretty underwhelming for what the
I'm sure
teams
they
are.
want 2 firsts and some other high pick. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's ridiculous. I don't know who's most likely. I think Rudy Gay will get moved.
Rudy Gay, I think
That's a
he'll get
given.
moved. I think Bogut's going to get moved.
I've heard that too because Dallas has nothing to play for. Acquire picks. I mean,
He's just
Dirk's
cap
talking
space.
about maybe I'll retire. There's nothing down there.
It's his cap space that's taken up. He's been playing okay, but he's still a presence that teams would want if they're on a championship level.
All those Western Conference teams are probably thinking like the Rockets. Like, if we just had a set hard screens, get rebounds, play defense, that's Bogut.
Yeah. Another guy. I know the Thunder. Obviously, I think the Thunder are going to try to do something. I don't know who they would trade for, but because did Westbrook re-sign or is he re-signing this summer possibly?
I think it's re-signing this summer.
Summer. I think they need to do something to convince Westbrook that they're going to build around him still. Obviously, you got Oladipo, you got Cantor, you've got Steve Adams. But after that, you've got a bunch of guys who are kind of like journeymen and young guys in the NBA, Grant, Morrow. You're struggling in the Western Conference. I feel like they're going to try to do something, whether that means they have to give up a lot, draft picks, or what, to give him another guy to help him out.
I can see Cantor being the odd man out. If you had to pick one guy who they would move, who another team would want, a scoring big, you know he can't play defense, but a scoring big, and he can score. It's nice to have that as your 4 come in. So I can see teams wanting him because no way they're giving up Westbrook for Trump change.
Yeah. So it'll be definitely interesting, but Rudy Gay is, I think, both of our first choice that most likely.
So
will get
corner
moved.
3, most likely guys to get traded. Rudy Gay, someone on the Thunder, and who was our third? If we just mentioned, I can't remember now.
We just mentioned it. We forgot it.
Bogut. Those are
Bogut.
most likely candidates. We'll see if it actually happens.
Yeah, with the NBA, you never know. I mean, no one saw a couple years ago Danny Granger getting traded for Lavoie Allen and Evan Turner. So
Evan Turner.
Evan Turner. I just said that to you. I honestly did that on purpose.
And he's been playing better. That's figures. Whenever I criticize is when he actually looks good.
Yeah.
I know let's not talk about it.
Well, that ends the Corner 3 show for this week. On the next broadcast, most likely, it'll be myself and Alex. We don't know if we're going to be able to get Ross in on Skype or if it's just going to be a nice beach location.
If we can't, then it may be minus me, which is fine. On the beach, I hope I get to hear the waves crashing behind. I can imagine where they're at. It'll be fantastic.
We'll probably be at like at a White Castle or something with Wi-Fi. But that does end the Corner 3 for this week. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. We're also on YouTube,
Twitter,
Instagram.
all those places.
We're
The Corner
pretty
3
much
show, the Corner 3 Ross, the Corner 3 Zach.
That's right.
We've been communicating with a lot of you guys on there. Keep sending us your questions, your thoughts. The corner 3 ideas. Oh, we did have one question today. Shout out to Twitter and Alex. The question was, from the corner 3, Alex, who is our favorite host who's not here today? I guess it has to be Alex because he's the only one who's not here. I mean, I don't know, how else would you answer that?
Well, we can just be like, well, we're not missing anybody.
It's the corner 2.
We have the corner 2. We're in front of the 3
We
point
should have
line.
taken, one step back, and it's another point.
We take a step back when Alex is here. Oh,
Not really, Alex.
dang,
We
that
miss
was
you.
good. But you can don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and like, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Peace.